Um, this is one of my all-time favorite yoga maps to share, and there are many yoga maps that I really love. When I started getting yoga maps and models, I was like, these things are awesome. I mean, how come everybody doesn't know these? Yoga is called a living science, and you're going to get an example of that tonight, because what you'll find is I'm going to give you a map, and once you get this map, it's going to go inside, and all these integrations are going to start happening, because the maps don't conflict with what you already know. They just sort of sort out what you already know. So tonight we're going to be talking about the different layers of the self. In the West, we think we have one body. In yoga, we have 5 bodies. And each body resides in a different time-space continuum, has a different whole way of being, and then they communicate with each other. I wish that I had learned this. I think this is the stuff that should be taught in 2nd grade. Like, it would really make a big difference. So these 5 different bodies are called the koshas. So that's what we're going to be going over tonight, and having some experiences with the 5 koshas. One of my favorite analogies about the koshas is, so if you imagine, like, if I just took a big jar of change and threw it out on the ground and then said, how much money is there? We would all make our guesses, and we'd probably be pretty far, like there'd be a wide variety of guesses. It's just a big mess of money on the floor. But maybe some of you are old enough to remember those simple things, that just pieces of plastic where you pour the coins in, and then all the quarters would fall down, all the nickels would fall down, all the dimes, and then suddenly you'd go, oh, I have this much in quarters and this much in dimes, and you could easily find out the amount that you had, and everything got sorted. That's exactly what these koshas do for me, is they take this complexity of being human, and then suddenly you put it into the koshas, and you're like, oh, I get it. That goes there, and that goes there, and that's part of that, and that's part of that, and suddenly they start to make sense in a whole different way. There's no way to really understand yoga without the map of the koshas. I'm always very surprised that I'll ask 5 people who have graduated 200-hour or 500-hour teacher training styles and be like, so tell me about the koshas. And they're like, what are the koshas? And I'm like, because you'll see it's the basis for understanding yoga. It's the basis for understanding personal transformation, which is what yoga is all about. And again, the map really, really helps. So with that, I'm going to start with the map, and you'll see what I'm talking about. We'll lay out the map, and then we'll begin to have some experiences of it. So these koshas, the word kosha means a layer, or a covering, or a sheath, okay? So there are 5 coverings, 5 different layers over of the self. So the first layer, and you can see my very sophisticated drawing, the first layer is the physical body. You do not need to know what I'm about to say. It is called the Ana Maya Kosha. So your physical body is in time and space. It is physical. It's subject to gravity. It's dense. This is the grossest, and I don't mean like gross. I mean, it's the densest of all of them. So we're going to be going from the most dense to the most etheric of the multidimensional self. Your physical body is made from the elements of the earth. When you die, it will return to the earth, and it is about the earth. Okay? That's your physical body. Now, we can break down the physical body and say, okay, wow, there's the nervous system, digestive system, endocrine system, muscular system, skeletal system. We can continue to break all of that down, and that's really great to know, all of that stuff. Very, very helpful to understand the layers within that physical body. Then we're going on to layer 2. This is the breath or energy body, and it is called the prana Maya, Kosha. So your breath body is more subtle than your physical body. So I'm going to keep layering on and tell more about each layer as we get layered on. So the first thing you do when you come onto the planet and you're born is you inhale. And the moment you do, your prana is invoked into this physical body. Your pranamaya kosha and your annamaya kosha, your physical body and your prana body, join. Okay? And the body goes from stuff to suddenly now it's lifted, it's got life force, and it's animated. The last thing you do before you leave here is you exhale. When you do, the body drops very quickly, becomes cold, hard stuff, no life in it, and it joins back with the earth. So prana body gives life force to the physical body. It's more subtle, of course, than the physical body. Your physical body, the language of the physical body is sensations. It does not speak English, your physical body. It speaks in the realm of sensations. So to tune into sensation for most of us is actually a skill that we got knocked out of very early on. Like, oh, get back on the field. Oh, you don't hurt. Oh, deny that. Oh, don't, like, just keep going. Strong men feel no pain. Okay, so we stick in our heads and stop listening to the intelligence that comes from sensation of tuning into our animal that we inhabit. Okay? That is one of the great benefits of yoga. We're going to get into how yoga relates to all of these and the different forms of yoga. But so the body speaks in sensation. The energy body speaks in a little subtler than sensation. It speaks in vibration and feelings. Okay? So again, tuning into our vibrations and our feelings, and you can begin to start to get an idea of some of the complexity of this multidimensional self. So it's sort of funny because there's so many different things that we refer to as I. So for example, if I cut my finger, I say, I'm hurt. If I am sad, I say, I'm sad. If I have a belief, it's like, I have this belief. So we have all these different aspects of ourself, but it's like, which one of them is I? What is this in regards to, like, who is the real I? Would the real I stand up? The koshas help for me to begin to go like, oh, I get it. They all sort of have their place. Third one, getting more subtle, this is called the mind, or the mano maya kosha. The mano maya kosha is your mind has a job, and the job of the mind is to label things. Boy, girl, good, bad, hot, cold. It just gives things a label. When we start to label things, those labels get a little more complex and they turn into beliefs. So now we have beliefs, and then those beliefs create concepts, and then they create cultures. And most of us live with the mano maya kosha in the driver's seat here. There is yoga now for each of these different layers. So the yoga for the body is what? Asana. So asana there's no real magic here to asana, to the postures. So a lot of people think yoga is about the triangle and a downward dog and a chaturanga and some proper alignment. That is not what yoga is about. Yoga is, as the Bhagavad Gita says, there are as many different yoga poses as there are infinite manifestations of God. And in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, these are the two quintessential texts on yoga. He says nothing about where your foot needs to be placed. He simply says when your breath fully inhabits the pose, then you have attained yoga, when your prana is fully embodied. So asana is nothing more than moving the physical body in non-habitual ways. Okay? To the left, to the right, lean forward, lean backward, bend backward, to all the 6 movements of the spine. You're simply moving your body in non-habitual ways, twisting to the left, twisting to the right. We do that to break up habitual, indoctrinated, unconscious patterns. This is why it's a system of personal transformation. Our body, our physical body, holds defenses, it holds identities, it holds injuries, it holds old patterns, it holds karma, it holds ancestral trauma, it holds a lot in this physical animal. And when that happens, we lock on and we hold these identities, and they actually start, and then they can cause dis-ease in many different forms. So when we're doing yoga, you're just moving your shoulders and waking up habitual indoctrinated unconscious patterns, because if you have a habitual indoctrinated unconscious pattern, it is doing you, as opposed to you doing it. If it's doing you, you're not free. Something is in control of you. If you're doing it and you can choose it, then you have freedom, because freedom is all about choice. So most of us walk around, quite frankly, run by our habitual indoctrinated unconscious patterns. And the goal here of personal growth is to wake up that habitual indoctrinated unconscious patterning and to bring it to consciousness. So therefore we come in here and we start to tune into our body and say, oh my God, my right leg's different than my left, and this knee's got me, and oh wow. And we start to listen to what our animal has to say, and we start to wake up the patterning held inside. The prana, Maya Kosha, associated with your breath, there's a whole yoga associated for the breath. What's it called? Pranayama. And if anybody knows now pranayama, Patanjali's 8 limbs, you're going to start to see a pattern. We're going down the 8 limbs. There's a rung for personal transformation towards, finding personal peace. Patanjali Sutras, for those of you who don't know, it's an incredible, one of my most favorite, I would say, one of my most favorite, I was going to say the most favorite, documents on the planet. And it is 196 very tight, very pithy lines of a manual for how to attain peace. And I just always like to imagine this. Imagine if someone came to you and said, I'd like you to put down the workings of consciousness and how the universe works and how to attain freedom in 196 lines. Like, just imagine what that assignment, and if you could do it. Patanjali did it. And it's in Sanskrit, and there's not a syllable wasted. Sanskrit is this melodic language that's actually very vibrational and meant to be sung, and it is an amazing piece of scripture. So, pranayama. Now we're in our prana Maya Kosha, our energy body, and guess what? Our energy body holds habitual, indoctrinated, unconscious patterning. Okay? So, when we practice pranayama, which means playing with our energy body, this is the aspect of kundalini, which you use your breath to begin to play with the energy body, which is subtler than your physical body. There's all these different ways of playing with your breath. There's no magic to it. You can breathe fast. You can breathe slow. You can breathe through your right nostril. You can breathe through your left nostril. You can hold your breath in. You can hold your breath out. You can breathe through your nose. You can breathe through your mouth. You can combine these in all different ways, which is what all the different pranayamas are. It's all different combinations of all these ways. You can go from fast to slow. Slow breaths calm you down and care for the nervous system. Faster breaths heat you up and cause more catharsis and energize the body. So you're waking up this big spectrum of playing with your energy body. And all of them are excellent to play with. So as some of you know, I lived at Kripalu when it was a yoga ashram, and we had a guru, and it was a cloistered, celibate, renunciate community. And Yogi Desai was very much a Shaktipat Kundalini yogi. And it was an intense lifestyle, and we did a lot of pranayama, like a lot of pranayama. And boy, energy was flying all around. And it wakes up the habitual indoctrinated unconscious patterns held in the energy body. Also, our breath is like, it's the digestive system for your emotional body. As I like to say, if you want to not feel something, what do? You hold your breath. Your boss is yelling at you. You're in traffic. The day's not going well. You hold your breath. When we hold our breath, energy congests, and we go into our head. That's what happens. So energy starts to stagnate. When you start to breathe, you start to wake up that energy and it starts to move and you start to feel, which is also why people don't necessarily like to breathe. If you don't want to feel, you don't necessarily want to breathe. I had the great fortune, some of my most favorite teaching of my whole career was I taught for 6 years in a drug and alcohol rehab center, which was really amazing. And when I first started, it was boys, only men from 18 to 25 who were on crystal meth, who were crystal meth addicts. It was quite a lot. Now, most people drink and do drugs because they're self-medicating from stored trauma of some kind and don't want to feel and don't want to inhabit their body and don't want to face what's going on in the world, okay, and in their world. So to ask them to come to a yoga class and to start to breathe deeply and was like, whoa, it was like lighting a fire to have people start to access their trauma. So I always say, don't underestimate the power of a yoga class and what happens and who's coming in and what can happen in the simplicity of a yoga class of just asking people to enter into their animal and to enter into their breath deliberately. So digestive, our stomach has a digestive process for our food. Our body, the breath, is your digestive process for your emotional body. So if you have some emotions that you're sitting there waiting for, breathe. How many of you here have done any kind of like holotropic breath work or rebirthing, or so raise your hands higher, just so others. Okay, so you guys know that all you do there is you breathe in and you breathe out. It's real simple, fast, for a long period of time. And it highly oxygenates the body. And so tell me, what happened? Did you release anything? Yeah. So it's right there. We have all the tools that we need for digesting our emotional world and breaking up habitual patterning, all in our breath. So that's the pranamaya kosha. Then we have the manomaya kosha, the mind, and there's a whole yoga for the mind. And what is that? Meditation. So in Patanjali Sutras, it goes like this: Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, which is really concentration. I spell so poorly when I'm up close. Concentration, meditation, and then concentration is, can you, for 12 seconds, like an unbroken spout of pouring oil, be in charge of your attention and place your attention on this object for 12 seconds, like an unbroken spout of pouring oil? I'm not timing, but I can tell you that was probably like 6 seconds. So you start to learn a whole lot about your ability and your attention, okay? So this is about becoming in charge of our attention, being in charge of our attention. Most people are not in charge of their attention. They're attracted over here, they're distracted over there, repulsed over there. They're just at the whim of their attention. It's just the way I am. They wake up and the drama of the day just grabs their attention and off we go on the attention ride, as opposed to where and what would I like to place my attention on? And who is in charge of this attention? And what is attention? Whatever you place your attention on creates. Whatever you place your attention on is your experience. And most people aren't in charge of their attention. And Patanjali is saying, if you want to be free, if you want to get happy, you have to learn how to be in charge of your attention. And there are skills, very simple, like this is a very doable gradient approach to finding happiness. It's not some lofty thing. Lots of people say, oh, Patanjali Sutras, it's for the masters of the masters. And I'm like, no, this is a manual for the average person. Okay, it's just telling us very simply what to do. We hold habitual, indoctrinated, unconscious patterns in the mind. So we need to wake up those habitual, indoctrinated, unconscious patterns, our beliefs, and be the master of them rather than them doing us doing them. The practices of meditation help that to happen. Okay, they help us to become in charge of our attention, and suddenly the shift is really this. Most people are their beliefs, which is why people get offended if you don't believe what they believe. I mean, you start a discussion, and I mean, let's just think of your last Thanksgiving and talking to some of your family members, okay? Like, so, you know, the moment we are our beliefs, we hold on to our beliefs really tightly, and there's a difference between being your belief versus being someone who believes the belief. You're either the believer of the belief or you're the belief. Most people are their beliefs, are so associated that they can't see that I'm the believer of my belief. I get to choose. And wow, look what happens when I put this belief in, how the world looks. Wow, let me take that out and look what happens when I put this belief in. And wow, look what happens with the world. Wow, I get to choose what belief I put in here. These are slides that go in the slide projector, and isn't this interesting? When you start to play with different beliefs in that way, then you start to ask the question, like, who's the looker at the beliefs? So that's where we go to the fourth kosha. Number 4. This is called witness consciousness. The description for witness consciousness, I'm going to write it down here, is non-judgmental, compassionate, it's so funny. You know how some people are visual? Like I can't spell when I'm on this thing. Self-observation. Non-judgmental, compassionate self-observation. Establishing witness consciousness. There is in some translations it's called the true self or the seer, the inside seer. So your higher self. This is not your mind, okay? This is the one looking through the mind. This is, again, if we were to, it's the one looking at the beliefs. So yes, we've got our beliefs, but again, most people are their beliefs. This is the one that goes, let me take the beliefs out and put the beliefs in. Non-judgmental, compassionate self-observation in all that we do. Swami Kripalu said, the highest goal of yoga is to establish non-judgmental, compassionate self-observation in all that we do. For me, as a yoga guide up here, I lead people through inquiries in their Anamaya Kosha, in their physical body, to break up habitual, indoctrinated, unconscious patterning, and to bring it to witness consciousness. Bring it back to a place of choice. I lead people to wake up their breath body. So I coordinate breath with movement. So here, we'll do this simple kosha experiment. Bring your arms out in front. Bring your arms down to your side. Bring your arms out to your side. Bring your arms down to your side. Bring your arms up above your head. Bring your arms down to your side. That was me speaking and giving directions to which kosha? The physical body.
Physical.
Okay, great. So I had your physical body do things. But somebody said Manomaya Kosha, mind, which is interesting because when you give these directions, we tend to stay in our mind, which is really interesting. Okay, because you're listening and you're, do I do it right? Am I following the directions? Now, I'm going to do this again and we're going to join the Pranamaya Kosha. Inhale your arms out in front of you. Exhale your arms down to the sides. Inhale your arms out to the sides. And exhale your arms down to the side. Inhale your arms up above your head. And exhale your arms down to the side. So, what was the difference between those two experiences? The breath. We added the breath. So we coordinated breath with movement. It felt more flowing. Anything else?
More focused.
More focus, which is interesting. You're less in your mind when there's this, when the breath is involved, than you are up and going, put your right finger on the floor, rather than breathe your forefinger up to the sky. You know, you're like, this just puts us in our mind. I call that Simon Says Yoga. There's so much yoga going on. Put your right foot here, put your left there, put your toe, bend your knees, put your leg. And that's the kind of yoga where people get hurt because they're in their head. They're trying to follow the directions. They're not embodied. When it's inhale, your arms up, and exhale, step forward. Now let's pulse and be in our breath. You're waking up the breath body. So I'm leading inquiries for people in their Anamaya Kosha. I'm leading inquiries for people in their Pranamaya Kosha. And yoga is a series of principles. It's not a form. And one of the main principles, whenever you coordinate a movement with a breath, you're doing yoga. So inhale your arms up, exhale your arms down, you're doing yoga. It's that simple. You've now got these two koshas starting to communicate, right? Where often they're not in communication. Often we're totally disembodied, we're not breathing, we're stuck in our mind, and none of this is happening and there's very little communication going on. So the trick here is to wake up communication, and the goal of all yoga is to establish non-judgmental, compassionate self-observation in all that we do. There is someone watching. You are watching yourself. You're watching yourself think, you're watching yourself act, you're watching yourself breathe, or you're not. Okay? So when we say to somebody like, oh, they're awake, or they're so conscious, what that means is there's someone who's got a witness consciousness. There's someone in there. Okay, there's a light on. And that's what we're looking for, is to establish this witness consciousness. Your witness consciousness is the one who directs attention. Okay? The mind does not direct attention. And this is what happens with meditation. So if we first, most initial meditation exercises begin like this. Okay, gang, we're going to do 5 minutes of complete silence. I want you to still the mind. Okay? Here we go. 5 minutes of no thoughts. All right? Begin now. Okay? And then you're like inside going, okay, no thoughts. Here we go. No thoughts. Wow. Wow. You're in the car's outside. Is that all right? I see the car's outside. Oh, she just moved her thing. Oh, no. Hey, no thoughts. Shut up. Shut up. No, you shut up. You shut up. I mean, that's what no thoughts look like. Okay? There's no such thing as no thoughts. Okay? So it's really about, wow, who's the thinking? Which thought do I give attention to? What's my attention? Begins these experiments. What are my thoughts? Who's in charge of my attention? I'm not in charge of my attention. What is my attention? What does attention look like? wow, what if I decide to put my attention on, and let's just do this right now. So here we are. I'm going to have us do some attention shifting exercises. Gently place your attention on the marker. With your attention on the marker, begin to feel what your attention, the flow of your attention feels like. Flowing attention. Attention on the marker. Great. Now close your eyes. Put your attention on the sound of the cars in the distance. Effortlessly, easily, just simply listen to the cars in the distance. Thank you. With your eyes closed, gently place your attention on your breath without changing it. Just notice your natural breath. Feel your breath moving in and out just as it is. Simply notice your breath. Thank you. Bring your attention back to your ears and see if you can single out the sound of the birds singing in the distance. Thank you. And with your eyes closed, bring your attention to the bones in your body. Be aware of the bones in your body sitting just as they are. Thank you. Now, with your attention on the bones in your body, simultaneously become aware of the sound of the cars and the birds and your breath. And your bones. And allow that to be as effortless as you can. Gentle awareness on the cars and the birds and your breath and your bones. And then gently open your eyes. So, what was your experience?
It's pleasant.
Pleasant?
I feel calm.
Calm?
I witnessed my own attention moving around.
So it established some witness consciousness. You were witnessing your attention moving around, which is really what happens when we simply ask people to be in charge of their attention. It puts them back in their witness consciousness. And you sort of remember, oh, I'm in charge of my attention. And then what's interesting is you said, so you felt calm. How many people felt like their mind got calmer? Okay. The mind didn't get any calmer. It was about where you placed your attention. If you had placed your attention on your mind, it would have been as crazy as it always is. Okay? But our attention wasn't on the mind. Our attention was turning to the sound of the cars. And then the mind seems to quiet. But, Jillian?
I don't know if anybody else has curious, and
Oh, nice. So there's an interesting thing, because I said when we start these experiments, so one of the things that Patanjali says about practice is, practice happens over long periods of time, with great struggle, with no breaks, and with great faith in God. Okay, so that's practice, all right? So when we begin to practice these things, what happens is we start to, again, find out more information about our awareness, our attention, the way our mind, all these different parts of ourselves, how do they all go together, who's in charge here. And then, wow, we have an unlimited amount of awareness. I can hear the cars, the birds, be aware of my bones, conscious of my breath, looking at you, starting to increase our incredible ability for awareness. I'm going to take a side note here because I just remembered this story that I love to tell because it was a life changer for me. Many of you may remember, so this back in the 70s, Bill Moyers had this special, The Power of the Mind. I don't know, but I was fascinated by it. So he was talking about the power of the mind, and he did a number of things. One of the things that he did, which was way back when no one, quote, believed in acupuncture. Sorry, Ann. No one believed in acupuncture, right? So what they showed was they would go to China, and they show with acupuncture, they put needles in this woman. While she has needles, they saw her skull open, and they take her skull off, and they do brain surgery on her. She's fully awake, she has no anesthesia, she's talking, and they're operating on her brain, and they sew her skull up, and it's like, how could you not believe in that? You know, we just watched it, right? So that was one thing. So then they interviewed this Zen master who was considered one of the greatest Zen masters in all of Japan. And he was a Tai Chi master. So in order to even him to speak to you, like you couldn't have an audience, you had to attend his class every morning for 2 years before you could even say hello to who he was. So he held these classes in the park where every morning they're all doing their Tai Chi. So in his pathway of becoming an enlightened Chi master, he had 3 disciples who had gotten to the point where, and this is a thing that happens in Zen tradition. At some point, the person gets to a point where the master will say, now you're at the place, here's the deal, we're going rogue. If you can attack me, the moment you actually get a blow in, I graduate you. 24/7 from now on, this person's on attacking, okay? And if you can attack the Zen master, and get a blow in, you get graduated. He had 3 people at that level, 3 men at that level, attacking him 24/7, okay? So, never knows when, but here he is, and he's out in the park, and he's leading a Tai Chi thing, and he's being interviewed, and we're watching this thing, and he's underneath the tree, and he's going like this, and all of a sudden a guy flies out of the tree, and he takes his hands like this, doesn't even look, takes his hands, throws them to the ground, and continues. It's like he was, you could tell, and he started to talk about that afterwards. I hear him climbing the tree. I feel him. I got his energy. Now he's jumping, and now I got him, and now he's down.
Oh, he grabs the guy in the tree?
Yeah. He didn't grab him from the tree. The guy jumps out of the tree, and he grabs him in the air and throws him down. But whoa, that's the level he was saying, that's the level of awareness we deserve, we are meant to have, that we have cut ourselves off from. Okay? So that's what happens when we open up this level of awareness that we're sitting on. That's pretty trippy. Okay? So I'm just giving you some ideas about what practice can do for us. That's witness consciousness. So again, this is actually the most important. All of the inquiries that we do in the body, all of the inquiries that we do in the breath, all of the inquiries that we do with the mind, they're simply to wake up witness consciousness. Nothing more, nothing less. The mind, the body, and the breath are the ones that hold samskaras. Samskaras are habitual, indoctrinated, unconscious patterns, or our karma from the past, either in this life or, as Patanjali would say, others. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's from this life or others, because the way to get free of it is still the same. It's right here and right now, and becoming aware of it. So, whether you believe in past lives or not, the belief in past lives makes no difference. You still have to get free of it. You still have to wake up the habitual indoctrinated unconscious patterning and bring it to witness consciousness so that rather than it doing you, you can say, I'm going to place my attention on this, and now I'm not. And I'm going to place my attention on this, and now I'm not. So this is these are the 4 koshas, and then the final one is called the bliss body. This is your Ananda Maya kosha. Ananda means bliss, Ananda Maya kosha. And your Ananda Maya kosha, there's no yoga needed for your Ananda Maya kosha. This is your soul. It's actually waiting for you to experience it. It is infinite, eternal, and whole. It is beyond your awareness. This is your your witness consciousness is your single higher self, if your soul were to have a voice. And you can see how they're all connected. And then your mind, your witness consciousness does seem to speak sometimes in English, so it's connected to the mind. It has a language to it. Your prana body is your energy body and feeling body, and then there's your physical body. These 3 layers, the densest layers, are the ones that hold samskaras. That's where the purification is necessary. So Patanjali says union, yoga, peace is possible, but purification is necessary first. Yoga is the purification process for these 3 lower koshas to get rid of the habitual indoctrinated unconscious patterns that you're holding so that you can wake them up to awareness and be free. Because again, if something's choosing you, you're not choosing it and you're not free. You're being done by something, by your culture, by your past, by your beliefs, by your trauma. Any questions or thoughts about the model? What do you think about it?
It's a great framework to sort of compartmentalize, if you will, maybe address what you might be feeling or thinking.
And it is a great framework to address what you're thinking and feeling, and like you have a compartment to put them in, like, oh, that's a feeling. Oh, that's happening in my body. Oh, that's my thought about it. Oh, this is my witness consciousness. Oh, that's my soul. I like to think of these almost like a lock. And the process of yoga is, you know how in a lock you have to like turn things? So you start with your physical body, which is where Patanjali starts, and then you get into that and you start with the breath, and then you click the mind, and then there's witness consciousness, and then, oh my gosh, now you've opened the lock to the soul. You can start to have a soul experience. But these are what's clouding us from having that true soul experience of our infinite self. Also, what I love about this is that the complexity of being human that very few people really talk about is, wait a minute, I'm a body, I'm going to die, I'm going to age, so wait, that's me. I am my body. I and my body are one. But I'm infinite, eternal, and whole. How do these 2 things go together? They are diametrically opposed. Okay? They don't live in the same space-time continuum. This body is in a space-time continuum. It will die and go to the ground. Your infinite, eternal, whole soul will not. So now I'm going to talk about these words, Maya and Kosha. Maya is a word that means illusion. Okay, so when somebody says, oh, it's all Maya, it's like, oh, this is all a big illusion. It's all a big light show. So quantum physics proves that physical reality is nothing but a light show. Einstein in 1905 said everything here is photons. Photons are eternally stable. Light is, everything is light. Quantum physicists agree that most, the first place, atoms are 0.00009% stuff. That 0.00009% stuff, quantum physicists agree isn't stuff at all. It's light that appears to have a reality that weirdly enough is manipulated by consciousness. Okay, so there's this weird light show that we enter into then and actually create, and when we get in it, we forget that we created it. We feel victimized by it, trapped in it, okay, and forget that we're actually the ones creating it. This is basically the way out of yoga, is to go like, okay, so we're getting out of this illusory covering. The covers our infinite soul. So what yoga is saying is you are an infinite, eternal, whole soul, having a very temporary, dreamlike experience of being in a light show that you think is real, okay? And it's not really real. It's not really very real because it's very temporal, okay? So I like that because that dichotomy, the questions where when people start to do their soul searching, it's like, wait, I really, like, where do I go when I die? And what's going on here? And again, so many people believe they are just their body, but they have so many other experiences that point out that they're not just their body. So my father was very much a scientist and very much believed that when you're dead, you're dead. Your brain turns off. When you're dead, you're dead. But as he got older, in his 90s, he was like, I sure hope I'm wrong. And he had a lot of evidence that he and his body weren't the same. Okay, so for example, one of the ones, sorry, Dad, I gotta tell this. One of the ones that he used to say, he was like, you know, at some point I turned into a dirty old man. He says, but I'm not really a dirty old man. He says, I've always loved, oh God, what's the country western star? Taylor Swift. I've always loved Taylor Swift, and I've always loved Heidi Klum. But now I'm just old enough that it's inappropriate that I like Taylor Swift and Heidi Klum. You know, but that's the point was, he's still, you know, the same person attracted to who he's attracted to, but he's in this 94-year-old body where suddenly that's not supposed to be okay. You know, and it's like, okay, we have lots of evidence that our body and our consciousness are non-related. You know,
Did he report back?
did he report back? You mean after he died?
Yeah.
I certainly feel he's reported back, you know, very often.
Yeah, well, people
He's
who have
re-
had life after death experiences describe this, you know, which is interesting too. You know, they come up out of their body, they experience light, another realm, and come back, and this is like a dream.
And it changes, that shift in perspective changes people. You've probably all heard this. Are you a body having an occasional physical experience, or are you a spiritual being having a temporary physical experience? That viewpoint changes everything about your experience here. Who you decide you are and what this is about just changes everything. So in the book that I just wrote, The 3 Essentials, Timeless Principles for Inner Peace and Self-Transformation, the main concept of the third essential is you're infinite, eternal, and whole, or you're not. Those are the 2 choices. Okay? Those are the 2 choices. There's no sort of infinite. You know, it's like, no, you're either a body and you're going to die and it's over, or you have this consciousness that is untouched, that's going to continue, that has nothing to do with this physical realm. So the choice that you make, that choice determines everything else in regards to your experience. And this is just describes, once you get that and you look out at the world, you see what choices people are making. If I'm a body and I'm over here, it's real simple. The moment I'm here, now I'm a man, I'm this age, I'm white, I'm you know, there's Democrats and Republicans, there's, you know, Jews and Christians, and I mean, all the differentiation, all the labels come over here at the moment I'm a body. I'm a man, you're a woman, here we go. Now here's the differences. And it's survival of the fittest. It's also, survival of the fittest means it's competition time. You're my enemies. We're vying here for limited resources. You know, only one person wins the award. You know, here it is. If I'm over here and I'm infinite, eternal, and whole, having this weird temporary light show experience, I can't just believe that about myself. I believe you're infinite, eternal, and whole, and you're infinite, eternal, and whole, and wow, here we are together having this weird experience, and therefore when I meet you, I'm like, we've been together forever. We're going to be together forever. How cool. Good to see you again. You know, let's have a good time. Let's treat each other as nice as we can. Let's try and figure out what the hell is going on here. You know? Like, all right, that's a much more fun game. And it totally changes the picture. Not to mention, it is impossible to be at peace and in fear. They cannot go together. Peace and fear they're not companions. When you are here in your body, you have tons to fear. Tons. Okay? Turn on the news. The news should not be called the news. It should be called What to Fear. Turn on tonight. What to fear? We're going to die. A new virus has come. Ticks are everywhere. The economy is going. The war is happening in Israel. This is what to fear today. A tornado's on its way. Global warming is happening. What to fear? Right? Okay. Wow. That's what to fear. And if you're a body, you got tons to fear in this light show. All right? If you come over here, what does an infinite, eternal, whole being have to fear? Nothing. Nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing. And the biggest fear, of course, is death. But if death isn't real and doesn't happen, what's the fear? If that's the case, and according to this, I've died and I certainly love this belief. I don't care. This is the other thing that I really love. So, A Course in Miracles has a wonderful statement. Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Okay, as my son likes to say, both please. So, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? I'd rather be happy. And regardless of whether I'm right about being infinite, eternal, and whole, I can tell you this. Believing that you are infinite, eternal, and whole is the single best belief you could ever hold to be happy. Straight across the board. You want to be happy? Believe that you're infinite, eternal, and whole. You will have nothing to fear. You will be way more creative. You will be way more loving. You will be way more ready to explore everything without consequence or fear. It's the best belief you can hold, even if it's not true. So if I get to the pearly gates and God goes, first place, lights out, Devarshi, you were wrong, you're not infinite, eternal, whole. First place, it's lights out. There's no even me to look back and go, let me reevaluate my choices. I don't even have that moment. But if I had a nanosecond to evaluate my choices, I would still say, even though I was wrong, that was the best belief to hold. So, either way, I win. Okay? Now, what's cool is I happen to actually believe it to be true. So I have a lot of conviction around it also. I have a lot of experience around it also. But it doesn't matter. Okay? So this is the cool thing about beliefs. The other thing I love about yoga is at the level of the mind, in order to attain states of peace and oneness, every belief, even your best ones, have to go. The state of peace and union and sitting in the present moment and all that is, there is nothing going on. No beliefs enter the door. Everything must go. You simply are in the present moment, one with it all. No beliefs. So every belief has to be walked out the door, even your good ones. But some beliefs are helpful, and this is the thing. Some beliefs are helpful, and some beliefs are not. So that's the real question. Is this belief that I'm holding helpful or not? Okay? And if the belief helps point you towards an infinite, eternal, whole, peaceful self, it's helpful. If it doesn't, and it points you over to, how can I skip more and screw so-and-so and build a bigger gate and only let so many people in and accumulate my little treasures and then die. I mean, those are the two choices. Let's not get confused. That's really what's going on in the game. So your choice here and that's why I love this model, because it points it out. It's like you are an infinite, eternal whole self with these coverings that bring you into a state of density, having a time-space continuum experience. And then when you do, there's a whole different relationship to this animal. It's like, wow, this is my cool spacesuit for this time. Wow, let me get to know it, and let me feed it right and play in it, and be happy about the way that it experiences sensually. That's good, but most of us are really cut off from that, and that's what yoga practice does, is helps us wake that back up, become more childlike, more in the present moment. So, being present is what yoga is all about. Attaining a state of presence, being right here, right now. And most people are all discombobulated. So I'm going to do a little experiment. So who would consider themselves maybe the tallest person in the room? Might be you, Mike. You think, is Ann taller than you? Really? Ann, are you the tallest person in the room?
I don't know.
Close.
Okay. How tall are you?
6 feet.
How tall are you?
6 feet.
Okay. All right. I'm going to use you for anybody taller than 6 feet. Okay. Mike, you're going to go to the very back. Okay. Back of the room.
No?
Yeah. Go to the back of the room. All right. Who would consider themselves the shortest person in the room right now? Okay. Tell me your name again. Lisa. Lisa. So Lisa, come on over. So, Mike, you stand there. Okay. So Lisa, you come right here. Pardon?
5'2", and you're shorter?
No, this is perfect. 5'2" is great. All right, so you're going to stand here. Who would consider themselves somewhere in between these two? Great. Come on up. Ramesh. Who would consider themselves somewhere in between Lisa and Kamesh? Maybe about here. Great. Tell me your name. Haley. Haley. So Haley's right here. Who would consider themselves somewhere in the 5, 11, 10 range? Great. Come on. Tell me your name again.
Raheem.
Rahim. Okay. So, here we're going to do a demonstration of the 5 koshas. All right? You are the body, the annamaya kosha. You are the breath body, the pranamaya kosha. You are the mind, the manomaya kosha. You are witness consciousness, the vijnana, I forgot to write that up there, the vijnanamaya kosha. And you are the soul, the anandamaya kosha. All right. Here's what's going on in the world of your typical person. I want you to come over to your body. I want you to crunch your shoulders and tug your jaw, and I want you to type at your computer. And you're really stressed out because your boss is yelling at you, and you've got deadlines. I want you to come over here, take a big breath in, hold it. I want you to oh God, I've got so many things to do, and I can't think of it the right way. It's getting thinking, and the dog has to be walked, and I want to go on a trip, and I've got bills to pay. I want you to really, let's speak it out loud. Go ahead. You can. Don't let it stop. You're witness consciousness, and I want you to just go stare in the corner. Just go stare in the corner. And I want you to open your hand up and go, what the This is the average person. They're emotions. This is what's going on. Great, stop, and thank you. Perfect. With the average person, okay? All out of whack. When I again go back to my times in recovery, oh my God, people would come in and it was like, when you see a television station on static, it was like, oh my God, what they think, what they feel, what they say, what they do, all completely out of alignment with each other. Now, one is not talking to the other. Now, when you come to a yoga class, I'm just going to simply have you take your arms up and take your arms down. Okay, so you just continue. Okay? You're going to take your arms up, take your arms down. Now we bring the prana body in, and I want you to breathe with her, and you're going to align, and you're going to inhale up. And now they're talking. It's so simple. And now what happens when the body, the prana body happen, it's actually really entertaining for the mind. The mind starts to be quiet and go like, what's going on here? The things that I inhabit are actually doing something. Okay? And the mind is in the driver's seat. And when that happens, witness consciousness comes in because they're feeling the attention. And you get to join in, and then the soul gets happy. So this is the experience of yoga, of union, of getting these 5 koshas to communicate, union, and there we go. Thank you. So Gandhi said, when what a person does, feels, thinks, is all in alignment with their soul, that's yoga. He just listed the koshas. Because the body is the one in action, the feeling body, what we feel, what we think, our belief systems, our awareness, our choices are all in alignment with our soul, then we're doing yoga. Okay? That's just the layers of the self. Okay? But again, in the West, it's so interesting that we don't have like these delineated layers, and it's all very confusing. Wanted to say something about therapy and witness consciousness. So I did say establishing non-judgmental, compassionate witness consciousness, which, by the way, is called the Vijnana Maya Kosha. Let's put that up here. V-I-J, Vijnana Maya Kosha. Establishing witness consciousness is the key here, because your body, your prana body, breath body, and your mind have stuff to release. They hold stored past memories. When memories, stored past memories, get resisted in a present moment, what happens is that at some point we get hurt. Some moments, as I like to say, suck. Okay? And early on we learned some moments suck. And the moment we start to learn that some moments suck, we then say, now let me strategize to figure out how I can control the present moment so I don't have the sucky moments. No one has ever succeeded at that. However, we try. And now the moment we do that, we're out of the present moment, trying to control the present moment so we don't experience a past moment that we had, and we're anywhere but the present, which is where most people are. Okay? What we're doing here with yoga is taking our resisted past experiences, bringing them back and saying, that wasn't so scary. I can handle that. Let me feel that. Let me bring it back to awareness. Oh, great. Now it's no longer trapped back here, so I don't have to control out here, so I don't feel back there. Okay? Which is what it takes to become present. The whole goal is to be present. Okay? Presence is the goal because of this. All of us would say, we want to be happy. We want to have love. We want to have connection. We want to belong. We want a meaningful purpose. We want freedom. All of us would say that. Everyone. And the only place that we are ever going to get those things is right here, in this present moment. Or not. So, that's why, I mean, it should be pretty amazing that every human being actually wants those things, but very few have them. Like, we can make cell phones and airplanes and internet, but we can't get the 8 things that we all really want. It's because they're right here in the present moment, and we're not. You know, most people's present moment is, I would love to be loved. If I just had enough money, I'd be at peace and feel safe. If you just got it together, then I'd be happy. You know, like, so there's a gazillion things that keep us out of going, I am happy. I am feeling at one and love right now. I'm embodying it. I feel it. I feel connection right here, right now. Very few people do that, and that's the act of being present. That's what yoga, a yoga class, helps you do. You're simply practicing being present in your body, your breath body, watching your thoughts on the mat, and hopefully it translates when you step out of here to off the mat, on the mat to off the mat. Yes.
I'm just curious now, is this something you can give a personal story or example about? Is this something that you discovered step by step? And how? Or did you read about it or learn and find it to be true? Or what was the
Great question.
personal?
Great question. So, yes. Yes is the answer. The book that I just wrote is actually the answer to that question. So my life early on started with a big trauma. And that trauma put me early on into the question of what the hell is going on here? If there is not a good reason for me being here, and if I'm just a body, I'm not interested. There better be some answers here. And if there's not, this wasn't depression. This is logic, okay? This is just like, hey, if we're just bodies, I'm not interested. You leave it all. You know, overpopulation is a problem. Have at it. You know, I'll end this corporeal mass thing, and who cares? So it put me on a search for what that is. A very, what I would say, a life and death search. Okay, and I've been studying tools for personal transformation from everywhere that I could get them and every religion that I could get to say, what do people say here about what's going on? Not only that, my years at Kripalu when it was a yoga ashram we wonderfully had some of the best teachers in the whole world. And it was a hothouse for personal spiritual growth. When you live and work and worship together with 350 people day in, day out, who are doing yoga from 4:30 in the morning till bedtime 9 at night, shit hits the fan, okay? And we learned every communication thing you could imagine, and some of the best leaders in the world of yoga and communication and personal growth came to our door. And I was constantly gleaning what was, possible there. And that's why I love yoga so much, is because these maps just hold up to tried and true tested, for no matter what model comes out, and it's like, oh, that's the coach. It's like, oh, that fits in the coach. Oh, that's one answer. Now, I'm going to give you another answer, and this story is in the book, but it's one of my favorite stories because I think it's a good example of sort of all of this. So, this is a way about our attention, and it's about stored samskaras in the body that come from either, as Patanjali says, this life or another. So, when I was in Chicago, was married, had 2 kids, 2 cars, 2 of everything, and I was at this place where I was ready for something new. I had my yoga practice and workshop practice and bodywork practice, but I would have this time where I was like, I'm ready for something new. And I really was interested in houses. And in Chicago, I was very good at knowing the neighborhood that was gonna pop. And I was always a member of what I called the woulda, shoulda club. Like, oh, if I'd have bought that, I'd have made, $300,000, and that, and I could have bought that last year for $100,000, and now it's selling for $400,000, and I would just, my brain was going nuts. And I loved houses, I knew I could do it, I had the money, but I could never pull the trigger. And I had a friend who was a real estate agent, I was driving her nuts, and for 5 years, I was doing this. And finally I got, there is something back here that is self-sabotaging me, that I am not capable of grabbing. I can't seem, my mind is not getting me there. And so I brought in a friend who I knew had witness consciousness, non-judgmental, compassionate self-observation. And I'm going to take a side note. I am coming back to the story, but the side note. Any good therapist, it's not about what they say. Any good therapist or teacher is holding non-judgmental, compassionate witness consciousness. And have you ever been with that person where suddenly you're like, I don't know why I just told them my whole life story? It's like non-judgmental, compassionate witness consciousness, and out it comes, all right? Because what happens is when we establish non-judgmental, compassionate witness consciousness, then the samskaras have some place to go where they're going to be met with compassion. The reason why they got here was because they weren't met with compassion. They were met with the mind that went, you jerk, you thing, you fool, you this, you wrong, that's, don't bring them up. So they stay locked up. When we create non-judgmental, compassionate witness consciousness, now this stuff has some place to go to be seen and healed. All right? This is the voice of our soul. That's the importance of gaining witness consciousness. So I went, wow, with this problem, with this challenge that I have, that I'm not able to access, from a mental level, I must not have enough compassion, witness consciousness, to allow whatever is there to come up. So I'm going to get some help. So I invited my friend in who knew me very well. So she knew that this was an issue of mine, that this was something I wanted to do, but I also told her there was no magic to it. She came over, it was a Tuesday. We sat down in 2 chairs facing each other. And she just went into silence, and I said, I'm just going to go inside and start to explore. So I closed my eyes, and I started to explore. And, I'd already filled her in on what I'd filled you in. It doesn't seem to be happening. I'm mulling around in the inside of my, inner world, and trying to feel into my body, and trying to feel it. And I then say to myself, go towards what you don't want to feel. And again, in order to do that, it takes some even exaggeration. You have to be willing to try things on. Like you have to go into, like you're going into the dress store and you have to be like, let me try on that dress. I don't try on dresses, try on the dress. You know, like, okay, woo, you're on the dress. You know, it's like, okay, and then you see, like, so you just, like, try on anything. What do you not want to try on? Try it on. Okay, so I'm in there, feeling around in there. And all of a sudden I get to this part and I say, you know, it feels like this is related to my dad. And the moment I say it, I'm like, oh yeah, everything's related to my dad. Blame it on dad. You know, it felt so cliche. But the moment I said it, it was literally like a trap door in my belly went, and I fell. And I was in like a bottomless pit. I just fell into dark. And when I fell, I found myself just sobbing. And I allowed myself to just sob and to just feel. And as I was sobbing and I was feeling, I felt like a scared little boy. Something was wrong with me. I was not doing anything right. And I felt so scared. And the words that came to me were, you're a failure as a man. It's like, wow. And that hit. You're a failure as a man. And I was like, wow. And I allowed myself to just feel it. It's like, I'm a failure as a man. And as I allowed myself to just stay in it and feel that, I started to have integrations. And this is the way personal growth works. Our mind can't get us there. Therapy, you know, we used to say at Kripalu, understanding is the booby prize. It means nothing. It's like, great, now you know it's your dad's fault, great, but still, did it change the behavior? No, because my dad was an alcoholic and this and that, that's the way I am, so it's my dad's fault. Great, now I understand it, great. But you're still stuck in the patterns. Your body and your energy body have to access it, to go back to the place, access it, and retrieve it, and feel it, okay, back to its origin. So I'm feeling this, I'm a failure as a man, and I start to have integrations of, I was the third boy. My brothers were very much boys. I played with trolls. I wanted to sing and dance. I made shoebox houses for, you know, my imaginary animals. My dad didn't know what to do with me. You know, he was in the Korean War and Depression. This was not, you know, going to be good, you know, so something was wrong with me, and he was going to help me be, you know, toughen up, okay? But I got, something's wrong with me. What I want's not okay, what I like's not okay, who I am's not okay. I am a failure, clearly. My brothers seem to be doing it all right, but I'm a failure as a man. And it went in deep, and I decided it, and I cast it so far away that I was like, gone, okay? Gone out of my consciousness, and then I could see that so much of my life was trying to prove how I'm not a failure. Oh, so that I could feel like I'm not a failure to myself and to everybody. All the while, the deep belief, buried deep down in the mud, the truth, I'm a failure as a man. Signed, sealed, delivered, okay? But way inaccessible, but running the show, okay? So when I allowed myself to feel it, let it up and go like, wow, that's what it feels like to be a failure as a man. That's sort of what happened. You know, it's not any, you know, I'm not blaming my dad because ultimately I'm the one who chose, you know? My brothers were there, they didn't choose that. I mean, circumstances are what they are, but I made the sovereign choice that was the truth about me. And as a result, I'm the only one that could undo it. So I allowed myself to feel it, and in feeling it, that was that. Okay, it was really cool. Now the question is, how does that relate to real estate? When that happened, and I started to realize my parents, at this time, we evolved many times, my parents' relationship of mine, but at this point in my life, my parents would say things like this, and I was with them when they said this. They'd be like, well, our oldest son, he's a mechanical engineer. Our middle son, he's a professor. The youngest one, we're not quite sure what he does. He does yoga. I mean, people come to his classes and we're not sure how he finds these people. Okay, they had no clue what my world was like, no clue. You know what I mean? Moved into an ashram and changed my name to Devarshi, right? So, you know, so I was like, wow, I was still a failure. Like I was still not meeting it. I still was not doing what real men do. And what I realized was because my plan was to buy a number of apartment buildings, but I owned apartment buildings and was a landlord and was a successful businessman. My parents could say, oh, our youngest one, well, he owns buildings, he's a landlord, it's like, oh, okay, that's what real men do. But if I failed, it would put a nail in the coffin and prove in that realm, nope, absolutely not. You are a failure of a failure of a failure. And this is the way the mind works. I would rather not try. It was safer not to try than it was to try and fail. Okay? It was safer not to try because I so did not want that to be true about myself and so beyond the realm of consciousness. Okay? So when we start to do yoga, we start to wake stuff like this up, okay? But now here's the fun thing about the way that the universe works. That was a Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday night, my real estate agent calls me and says, I have a house that's going on the market tomorrow, and I'm telling you it's the house that you've been looking for, and you gotta come see it tonight because this will not last long, and it's on for a great price. And we went that night at 11 o'clock, and the next morning I bought the building, and 2 weeks later I had it rehabbed, and it started a decade-long period of rehabbing buildings and buying buildings. So when we shift our internal awareness and consciousness, the external light show shifts pretty instantaneously. They seem like miracles, but they're not miracles. It's like the Course in Miracles says, when miracles aren't happening, something's gone wrong. Okay? We think they're so out of the ordinary that it's like, oh, but they're directly related to our internal world. And that's what this game is all about, is have it reflect. Have it be a fun mirror for you. So, good question. And any other thoughts, questions, ideas? So the koshas, they're pretty, done.
Question. So you had a friend who could give you that non-judgmental listening person. I would just ask, like, is this something, like, hopefully the answer to this is yes, that we can all do on our own, through our own practice. But what percentage, I like numbers, what percentage of the time do you think that works? And what
67.3%.
That's pretty good. That's 50-50.
Yeah. So
But, like,
establishing.
do you recommend like trying to find that non-judgmental person to sit with you?
Well, whether you,
therapy is a movie process.
whether you're aware of it or not, you are finding that person. Okay. So when we are awake, we like to be around awake people. Okay, and that wakefulness makes a big difference. So I'm going to talk about a number of different practices about the wakefulness. So one of the things was I moved into an ashram and we had a guru. So Yogi Amrit Desai was the guru. And whether this was true or not, but it was absolutely, in my world, very, very true. He had an incredible amount of witness consciousness, an incredible amount of non-judgmental compassion and self-observation. That was palpable. So when he was in my presence, I was watching myself. I was awake as I could be, to my highest self. And it's a practice, okay, over long periods of time to be, established in your witness consciousness, watching what you do, watching what you say, watching what you feel, making choices, being in charge of your attention, and turning the light on, okay? And it's a muscle that needs exercise. It's a muscle, just like training, and that's what practice is. So, living in the ashram, that was my experience of the guru. I happened to have been his assistant, so I was with him pretty much all the time, okay? And then we had our brothers and sisters who were on this same path of turning their lights on. So the lights didn't go out. Everyone was watching everyone, okay? And the lights were on. And we were all watching each other, and it was a hothouse for spiritual growth, okay? And it's a practice. It's something when a bunch of people get together with the shared purpose of, and I saw somebody here the other day who had a Kripalu shirt on, actually it was at a different yoga class, And it said, the answer is love. And I said, oh, that's so funny, because at Kripalu we used to say, no matter what the question is, the answer is love. And then she turned around and her shirt said Kripalu. So, and the front of it said, the answer is love. So when you're with a bunch of people who have that as a shared purpose, no matter what the question is, the answer is love here. No matter what our conflict is, we're going to get this till we get this clean, till it burns clean. And we're going to use whatever we have to do that. That's what it takes to establish witness consciousness. Now, saying all of that, you are attracting those people. And again, what a good therapist does is they hold witness consciousness until that person begins to have it for themselves.
Yes.
And when they have it for themselves, then the process starts. Now it's like, go, you're on your own now. Go. You're watching yourself, you're aware, you're awake. It doesn't mean you don't have problems. It just means that now you have the digestive process. The light is on here, so these can start to clean up and clear out. Patanjali calls the samskaras, he says there's a reservoir of subliminal impressions. Okay, those are our samskaras. And those reservoir of subliminal impressions are any time in a present moment. We're going along, we're a baby, we're fully open, we have no boundaries, we're experiencing everything straight through us, and then all of a sudden we go, ouch! And then we grow up, wouldn't want to be like her, hate to be depressed, wouldn't want to be poor, wouldn't want to be angry, wouldn't want to, okay, now we're all locked up, okay, not wanting to experience the present moment, okay, and they're sitting back there, okay, in this reservoir of subliminal impressions. The process of yoga is open up Pandora's box, let all the snakes out, and start to feel them fully, get to know them, bring them to your witness consciousness, invite them, as Rumi says, not like when invite them to the table, give them an honored seat, like come here, I'd like to get to know you, little boy, little girl, abused person, this, come in, angry self, sit, let me hear your stories, okay? So then that reservoir starts to open up and starts to empty. And lots of people think, I'm not going to open that up because it's like the bottomless pit. If I open that up, I fall in, and there's no bottom here. Because we have experiences like that. Like for me, there was no bottom. And I know that we all had ourselves or friends where you're like, no amount of, like they don't love themselves, and no amount of my loving them is going to hit that place because there's no bottom in there. It's just going in and going in. Okay, so we have that experience, but I'm telling you, when you open the door and you start to allow them to come up and move through these layers, they do empty, and you find yourself more present with a witness consciousness. Watching the show and directing the show. Jillian?
I was wondering, because when you described your experience, you had someone come sit with you who you felt had a superior ability and was more conscious, more compassionate, and more able. And so I guess the question would be, are you trying to, do you need another person?
No, so this is interesting, because I wouldn't actually say what you said. I wouldn't have said that this person was more conscious or more loving or more superior at this ability than I was. It was this one piece, that my witness consciousness was not able, it was.
The way you described them was that they had this presence.
I knew that in her presence I felt an unconditional love. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
Yes.
I guess, what I'm asking is, like, that seemed to have helped you
Definitely.
reach back and be able to go to that place.
Yes.
Like you felt safe to do it more in her presence or something.
Yes.
So,
And I think that's the case. So the way I would say it is this: Swami Kripalu said, the key to your heart lies in another. And the reality is that we can't do this alone. We need the reflection, we need the mirrors, we need the conflicts, we need the support, we need it. And if we're all infinite, eternal, and whole, you grow, I grow. You get free, I get free. You go down, I go down. That's that aspect of being one.
thank you.
Yeah, sort of just seeing ourselves in the other,
So when you
And-
say personal growth, in a way, it's your own growth, but it happens in community.
Yep. So I'm gonna, do you mind if I talk about the acharyas for a minute? Okay, so Mike Narayan was a group of, and so was Kamesh, who's here also, a group of acharyas. So there was this woman, friend, sister at Kripalu, her name was Vidya, one of the coolest, most amazing teachers at Kripalu, old disciple and a dear sister and friend of mine. So we taught transformational programs together, and we taught a 500-hour, 10-day program on the tools for becoming a transformational yoga teacher. And she was one of the most remarkable teachers I've ever met. Vidya had the ability, she would sit in front, and anytime someone came up to share with Vidya, her witness consciousness and her ability to be present with Vidya, that person would, in front of everybody, be sobbing, heal some remarkable trauma, and she did nothing. Okay, but she did. She had incredible skill. She had, studied Gestalt. She just asked the right questions and just was a loving presence. Amazing. So, also that came from our years of living in the ashram. So we decided that we wanted because after the ashram had died and stuff like that, and now we're in the teens. There were so many people saying, oh, I wish I had lived in an ashram, I wish there was no... We came up with this thing where, how can we give people an ashram experience? Let's get to the nuts and bolts of what an ashram experience was. And let's design a program to do that. So we're like, okay, it's got to be a year long. Okay, so, and we're going to take 12 people, and we're going to do deep, deep, deep work. So we took literally about a year to get to 12 people. We had about 100 people apply, but we had to narrow it down to 12 people. And we had to talk about what we were doing, which was basically this work. And was the commitment. You're coming to this, and here's the deal. We are going to do whatever it takes to help you clear any self-sabotaging patterns held in your body, your breath body, and your mind here. And we called the process prana-kosha facilitation. Okay? So, what we would do is, first place, of course, there was context setting. Here we are, we're brothers and sisters. We're here together. We are going to heal each other. We're going to do whatever it takes. We're going to be vulnerable. We're going to be honest. We're going to share what we know, and then we're going to see what happens. And what would happen is, in these retreats, because we would do 3 or 4 retreats a year, and then they had homework, we would do these retreats and we do prana-kosha facilitation. Prana-kosha facilitation, which Vidya and I named, came from our work at the ashram, because we tried everything. It's like, how can we heal you? How can I heal myself? And we tried these things. So here's what would happen. It was a mixture of Gestalt therapy. It's like, okay, so you might say, I just really feel like my mom is holding me back, and I feel like she's sort of like this noose around my neck, and and I really know that my potential of being in a great relationship is out there, but my mom is just like I feel like she's on my back. Okay, great. Let's design a thing. Choose somebody here who's your mom. Okay, great. Get on his back. Hold him by the throat. Okay, now we're going to design something for the body, right? This is what you said. Let's get the body at it. Okay, what's your potential? Let's put him out there. Have him. This is you and your highest self, far, far away. Radiant, calling you, but you're held back by your mom. Okay, let's put things in the middle, obstacles in the middle. We get it. Okay, now you have to get there. You have to breathe. You have to start the breath process. You're going to have to feel. You're going to have to fight these things off. What are some of the thoughts you have? Let's start swinging out. Yell at your mom. Say your potential. Everyone would get involved in it. We made shit up. Okay, there was no right or wrong to it. Okay, it was just let's do that. But at the same time, most important was there was always witness consciousness. There were always people whose job was to be in the room silently, holding the space for what was going. Always people who could come in at any moment and say, especially Vidya and myself, okay, slow it down. Especially because with trauma, when it comes up, you can re-trauma. But if witness consciousness is there, you can slow it down. You can integrate it. You can allow it to dissolve. There's a big difference. Okay, people are afraid to bring it up because they're afraid to re-trauma. Okay, so we would design things, and hey, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Okay, let's try something new. That didn't work. you know, like, and no skin off, it was called Divine Play, all right? But let me just tell you, amazing healings happen. Lives were changed straight across the board. People in the program go, that program, I don't know who I would be if I didn't do that. Our first program, which was supposed to be a year long, lasted for 6.5 years, and our second program, we're still in it. When you say we're going up, yeah. So it was successful. But that was the kind of work that we did at Kripalu all the time with each other. It was like, whatever it takes. What do you need? Let's do it. You know? And it's like, oh, you need to be buried? We're going to bury you. Oh, you need to sit on the throne and have us at your feet and tell you how amazing you are and us to recognize your gifts. Great, we'll do it. You know, what does it take? You know, we designed it in a pranakosha facilitation. But the point I was going to make was, any person in the room, when a shift happened for anybody, every one of us got it. Every one of us was cellularly healed. It was a community thing. Your heart opens, my heart opens, you know. And we've all been in rooms where that happens, where someone shares sincerely. It's mirror neurons. And in yoga, it's called Shakti. Yogi decided Shakti, an open heart. You could feel it. Your heart opened. You know, because the vibration was, you know, high. So that makes a difference. I mean, who you, Swami Kripalu said, the single best thing you can do for your personal growth is surround yourself with like-minded others. Single best thing. Sangha, true Sangha, truth seekers, people on the path. So that's why I said you did it, you're doing it. I mean, you do it, you naturally attract those people, that's who you are, so it's happening. Anybody else, anything else? Yes, tell me your name again.
Megan.
Megan.
Yeah. Could you talk about pranayama and meditation?
Yes.
And its healing aspects in trauma?
Yes.
In trauma?
Yes. So, thank you, that's a great question. And this is one of the reasons why pranayama is so foundational to yoga. Any real yoga teacher, the first thing that first yoga practice, a yoga, if you're talking about real yoga, would be conscious breathing. Okay? Dirga Ujjayi breath. That would be the first practice any real yoga teacher would give someone and say, practice conscious breathing. Guess what? When you're enlightened, guess what you would practice? Conscious breathing. It's the beginning of yoga. It is the end of yoga. It's all there is to practice. Now, here's why. There's many reasons, but scientifically, we're going to go into just some anatomy for a moment. Your diaphragm is a really interesting muscle. It is both smooth and striated. So smooth muscles are the earliest muscles, they're involuntary, and they're the earliest things to form in your body as an embryo. So you have your medulla oblongata, your reptilian brain. That is the oldest part of your brain, okay? And it's the first part of your brain to form. After that, your heart forms, and then your digestion forms, okay? Connected to your medulla oblongata, okay? These are all smooth muscles, and they're completely involuntary. So for example, I'm not sitting here telling my heart, beep, 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 beep. It's all running completely on automatic from my reptilian brain. I'm not telling my dinner, go down here now, come on over here, come on up here. Time to go out now. I'd like you. Peristalsis is quite complicated, it's happening all completely autonomic, okay? Then I have striated muscles. We have the prefrontal cortex, the largest part of our brain, the part that we only use 10% of. And that is the part that says, I'm going to raise my right hand out in front of me, I'm going to spread my fingers and make the 5, I'm going to point my finger up to the sky. I'm deciding what to do, striated muscles follow, okay? Conscious decisions, all right? The diaphragm is one of the few muscles that is both smooth and striated, which means most of the time we don't think about our breath at all. We go to bed, we're not thinking, breathe in, breathe out, okay? Most of the time we don't think about our breath at all. However, I'm going to count to 3, and we're going to take a breath in, and then we're going to hold our breath until I say exhale. 1, 2, 3, inhale, contain, exhale. So what you just did there was your striated muscles overrode your smooth muscles, and you decided how you were going to breathe, okay? You literally are building new pathways from your conscious brain to your unconscious, this reptilian brain, which is in charge of reaction. This is in charge of responding, okay? Now, when you meditate and do conscious breathing, you're building a network of that communication. You're creating a pause button between reaction and conscious response. In recovery, this was the single best tool I could give an addict. Addicts are like, drink, oh my God, I wish I hadn't done that. Too late, the pause button needed to come here, right? So rewiring the brain, and there's lots of studies too, that young boys, it doesn't really happen until like 25. However, if you meditate, it does. Meditators connect their brain at a much quicker level, okay? So that your conscious and your unconscious are communicating. You build new pathways, new dendrites in the brain, all right? That establishes witness consciousness. This conscious breathing establishes witness consciousness, period. Because if I say to myself, and this is the thing with the breathing practice, you always want to say, what kind of breath am I going to do and for how long? Okay, so let's say I'm going to do conscious breathing, Dirga Ujjayi breath, which is just this nice full conscious breath to the top of my breath, pause, exhale nice and slow to the bottom of my breath. Inhale and exhale. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it for 5 minutes, all right? So I begin, and as I'm doing it, let's say all of a sudden I go, oh my God, what's for dinner? And I wonder if oops. Okay, my conscious breathing stopped, and I headed off, and okay, come back to the breath. Okay, and then often what happens with practice is really funny. Oh, I did this to feel calm. I feel calm now, even though the 5 minutes are up. You know, well, I'm good, worked. Okay, well, no, come back to the breath. You know, we have lots of really tricky ways that we get off the breath. We think we're deciding, but it's like you decided 5 minutes. Stick with the breath for 5 minutes. When the dinger goes off, you've completed your 5 minutes. I mean, so there's tons to practice, okay? In regards to learning about your attention, staying with a conscious breath, and sticking with it, okay? I'm going to trade here for a minute and go back to what I was saying here, which I dropped. So Patanjali said, one dharana, because in the 8 limbs, there's dharana, dhyana, samadhi. One dharana is a concentration. And he says, can you, for 12 seconds, place your attention like an unbroken spout of pouring oil? And I love that description. Like anybody can see that. As a child, I used to love in the tub. I would play with the water to get it just right so it wasn't dripping. And it was just that silvery blue. And I just would spend a long time putting my fingers through it. I thought that was so cool. So that's what we're looking for with our attention, that smooth, like an unbroken spout of pouring oil for 12 seconds. Then, one meditation is 12 concentrations. So 12 dharnas become a dhyana, a meditation. That's 2.5 minutes. So this is the gradient approach. Can you, for 2.5 minutes, like an unbroken spout of pouring oil, place your attention on your whatever, and I would say conscious breath is the key. Always start there, conscious breath. It's the single best meditation. Place your attention on your conscious breath. There you go for 2.5 minutes. Notice when your attention wanders, bring it back. It's that simple. Then, when you get good, like an unbroken spout of pouring oil for 2.5 minutes, the next is times that by 12, and that's about 28.5 minutes. That's samadhi. Okay? So, samadhi, Patanjali says, once you actually can be, and again, really in charge of your attention, no swerving, when you really master for 28.5 minutes, like an unbroken spout of pouring oil, I can stay fully, firmly, beautifully, gently, easily seated with my attention on my conscious breath without any blips. He says you basically at that point are in charge of your attention. That does not mean that there isn't further east to go. Swami Kripalu sat in meditation doing conscious breathing for 16 hours a day, 13 years of silence, so there's levels of samadhi that, are beyond. But that's a gradient approach and something to work towards. And in those practices, you become aware of your body, you become aware of your prana body, you start to filter out so much because the mind goes into the backseat. Purification does happen. Some scars get released. You don't even know it. Simply by keeping and establishing witness consciousness, the attention stays focused. I mean, it's the ticket. So, hope that answers your question. So I would say, start a practice of conscious breathing and never end it. It's that simple. Breathe consciously all the time, as much as possible. And here's the thing, it's the witness, this is the cool thing about conscious breathing. In order to do conscious breathing, some part of me has to say, oh my gosh, I'm not breathing. Take a breath, I've been holding my breath. Okay, well what did that? Okay, witness consciousness came on and said, hey, wait, you've been stuck on that, you've been, off on, mad at so-and-so or solving that problem. Come back, come back to conscious breathing. Okay, so now my witness consciousness says, get in charge of your attention. And then places the attention, and now we're in touch. Breathing puts us in touch with the body, in touch with the prana body, the mind quiets, and witness consciousness is present. That is really valuable. But we have to value it. And that's what's cool is a lot of people don't do the practices, because they don't know why would they do them? What am I looking for? Where's it going? What's it get me? And your freedom, your happiness, that's all. Yeah. But that's also going back to what Jillian was saying too. Having models in your life, you take leaps in consciousness. So for example, I had read a lot about meditation before I moved into Kripalu. And so I was like, meditation, it's good. I got to do it, right? So I'm going to be disciplined, and I'm going to do this. So I had a wood chair, because for some reason I decided austere was good. It was an uncomfortable wood chair. So I had a wood chair that was right in my kitchen table, or right in my kitchen, with sun beamed in. Every morning at 7 o'clock, I put on the timer for 20 minutes, and I sat in my chair to do my meditation. And I did it for 2 years before I moved into Kripalu. And I did it without fail. And here's what my morning meditation looked like. I sat in my chair. Oh my gosh, today is Tuesday. This is so amazing. When I'm done here, I've got to go shopping, and I need bologna, and I need some lettuce, and am I out of bread? I think I'm out of bread. Oh, I'm not going to get bread this week. I'm going to do, but then I'm going out to lunch today, so that's really cool. I'll go out to lunch. Do I have enough money for that? Okay. Okay, great. All right. I'd make lists. Now I'm teaching today. What am I going to teach? Who do you think? What assignments? I made lists. It was list making. I made lists for 20 minutes. I organized my whole life. I got up, and guess what? I felt great. I was meditating. I felt so good. And I felt organized, and I always felt better for meditating. And who did I know could say they sat every day in meditation for 20 minutes and, were dedicated to their practice? I was a meditator, okay? Then I moved into Kripalu. I mean, the first day, this was the Yogi Desai in the ashram days. You never knew what was going to happen. We would go to do our morning practices at 4:30 in the morning. They would end at 6. We would have breakfast, and sometimes he'd call us in for darshan. And he would start morning breathing. 4.5 hours later, we'd be still in a long breath, right? And he's just lost. And I remember going, he's not making a lunch list. Like, nothing is going on. Like that, like I thought I was meditating. And it's like, whoa. And I mean, because of that, again, this vibrational sort of like tuning forks, when you're in the presence, and this is the thing about transmission, when you're in the presence of someone holding a space, within a week, I had meditations that were way different than my lunch list making. So you can read about it all you want, but then there are these shifts that happen when you are really searching and seeking for it, and that's how we help each other along this great path of grabbing each other along the way. Yes?
It really speaks to the importance of doing this work in community.
It does.
Which for me has always been so relationship in order.
It does, yeah. I mean, as they say, it takes a village, to raise a child, but it takes a village to raise ourselves. And I mean, I never intended to speak so much about the ashram, but I moved into the ashram for the spiritual practices because I truly believed, from what I'd read and seen, there were practices that needed to be done that could get me to a state of peace. And I was really so disciplined and so fervent, mainly because I was very unhappy at the core. I was very not at peace. And that not being at peace was what added to my discipline and my fervor and my desire. So I remember sitting in the main hall at one point and I was deep in a state of meditation and oneness, and I remember thinking to myself like these words like, you did it. You got everything you came for. Like you're at peace. You can talk to God and know yourself and do whatever you want, whenever you want. You're here, you did it. Like, this is it. Now just keep doing it. And then I heard these words, go make a mess. I was like, what? I had been trying to be perfect. I was the perfect disciple, eating the perfect thing, saying the perfect thing, being the most loving, aiming for perfection and ascension. And then I get there, and what I got was, get on the earth and make a mess. Stop all that. Go do it. And shortly thereafter, I did go make a mess. Several of them. I left the ashram, and very glad to have made the messes that I've made. But there was a reason why I was saying that. There was something about community. I believed when I moved in there, looking at the earth, it was like, I really truly believed in the 80s that by the year 2000, we're all going to be living in these community. I felt we're modeling this. I'm living with 350 of my best friends. We live on 350 acres in the woods with a lake and hot tubs. And, I work my butt off, but I step out my door and I'm with my best friends and we go swimming and we have sweat lodges. And, like this is just, it couldn't be better living in community life. I didn't care if the world blew up because it was like, if the world blows up, we'll handle it together or we'll all die together. Either one's fine with me. So there was a level of safety, in living in a tribe. And I truly believe that we are meant to live in tribes, that we screwed it up. We are like animals, we're meant to live in tribes. And when a gazelle gets separated from its herd, it goes into stress mode. And all of us are separated, living in high stress mode. When we live together, that stress mode really goes way down. And I saw it with the way parents raise children, with so many people to help raise the children. I saw it in relationships because you didn't expect your spouse to be everything. It was like the women had a group of women, the men had a group of men. You didn't expect your spouse to be, your everything. So there's just so much that comes from community, and we're still pretty far away from it. But I'm a big believer in it. And certainly it catapults the reflection again, because there were no secrets in the ashram. None. No matter who thought they were holding a secret, there were no secrets in the ashram. Yeah, Jeff?
So that kind of gets to my question is, most of us live a life of messes. And so we need some practical tools to be able to unveil all of these layers without going to an ashram and living for a couple of years. So can you talk to that a little bit, please?
Yeah, nobody needs an ashram. All any of us needs is to set a worthy goal and commit to it. The moment you set a worthy goal, what will come up is all of your self-sabotaging behavior. You can guarantee it. Okay? So you set a worthy goal, and then what's going to come into play is all of the things that will not, that's where the work is. But what a lot of people do is they dream about a worthy goal, and then the self-sabotaging behavior comes up and they let go of the worthy goal, or they pretend they still have it, or they sort of, it's like the work is in set the worthy goal and clear the shit that's in the way to get there. Like do it. Do whatever it takes to do it. And there are people who are doing that, and that is the spiritual work. There's a lot of people who set a worthy goal, and then self-sabotaging behavior comes up, and they say, see, this is an accident, it's not meant to be right. Like setting a worthy goal, like Glinda's supposed to come down and go, oh, Jeff, ding, it's so easy. We give it to you, ding, here's your ruby slippers, and you got your goal. No, that's not the way it works. So lots of people get upset because they set a worthy goal and it didn't just come to them so easily. But it's like, that's where the work is. Nothing has gone wrong. That's the work. Nothing has gone wrong. So you got to take it, digest it, chew it, get it, bring it to consciousness, and keep your eye on the goal. And that, there are people doing that, and there are a lot of people not doing it. And a lot of people like to be around people who are doing it. So if you're one of those people who are doing it and creating worthy goals, it's very attractive. And people will join with your mission to learn how to eventually get in touch with their own mission and find out what that is. But in the meantime, being in touch with somebody else with a worthy mission is a really good thing. Hopefully that.
Yeah, it's helpful, right? The highest vibration always attracts most of the energy, right?
Yeah, and living in an ashram is great. I mean, but not everybody can do it. And that's, I mean, it was definitely a counterculture thing to do. And I was like, when I moved into an ashram, I was like, hey, I knew I was not going to be swayed by the desires, by the culture, by this. I was like, this is what I am going to do. And I had to be committed to it enough to leave my family, my work, my job, society. I mean, we were outcasts.
Well, you had to destroy to recreate.
But that is true. So, and I loved it. You had to.
Yeah, I was just adding on to that. What can you say about the role of Sangha in terms of helping to create that?
Well, again, Sangha, to come together, it's a community of truth seekers. Sangha is a community of truth seekers. And again, when you're surrounded by people who, again, when conflict comes up, because it will, because again, you've set a worthy goal, conflict will come up, but when you've got the worthy goal, that's where the work happens. Because it's Sangha, it's like, yes, this is our place to work that out. I'm going to give another description of that. So I was in a great position at Kripalu during the ashram days, where Harvard was coming to study us because they were doing this study on successful communities. And so I was their liaison to give them access to what they needed to find within our community and do the studies that they needed to do to get their information about community. And this group of Harvard students was so amazing because they were just so baffled. They would say, like, we don't understand, how do you do this when nobody's getting paid? How do you motivate people if you can't fire them? How do you, or can't say, oh, if you do a good job, I'll give you more money. Like, how are you doing this? And how do you decide who gets to be on veggie prep and who's a teacher and who's, in finance and who's, in marketing and who's on grounds group? I mean, like, and who's a massage therapist? How is this happening? Like, couldn't comprehend it. And I was like, it all just really worked. Which is really fascinating, because when people really do get to do what they want to do, it all just sort of really balances itself out. And we set together this worthy goal, and we were all working on it together, and we could all see what we were creating. And then people would come to be a part of it, and it was such an amazing Sangha, and that was totally transforming. To have this joined purpose so that's just another aspect of Sangha. But there's so many ways to have it. Yes, Anne?
Are there any ashrams in the States like that now?
Such a good question. I know that they are. Yeah, there are. But I don't know about big ones. I mean, as most of you are aware, in the late 80s, early 90s, the guru craze sort of ended, and they all got ousted. Yeah.
Just an observation about that, and sort of an organization of any endeavor with a sort of worthy goal. Whether a young person and you want to start a car washing entrepreneurship business, or CEO of something, or running a nonprofit, or whatever the organization might be, is realignment, frequent realignment to the principles and values that you hold. You can have an organization and meet together, and Sangha, I don't know really what that word means, but you meet, but there have to be some defining principles at which you agree and revisit and nurture. Is there anything that you can speak about that?
Yes, so we did tons of mission, vision, valuing, mission, vision, values, constantly. We were in processes about what that meant, and led them for businesses which would come to us about that. And what I wanted to say about this thing about not motivating people by money, one of the things that I loved was I felt if you could be a manager at Kripalu and manage people, you could manage people anywhere. Because the trick was I could get people to clean the toilets. And here's the deal, you're gonna clean the toilet, and I want you to clean the toilet like God is going to sit on that toilet. You are scrubbing away your personal karma here. I want this toilet shining like your soul, okay? And I want you singing and putting mantra in it. And if you're in here, because we didn't get paid, you get paid by your own happiness. If you're in here going, fucking filling a fucking toilet, fucking people, and goddamn shit, that's what you get, okay? And you don't belong here, you know? And like, so, okay. Or you could be like, I love God, God loves me, here's the bowl. And guess what? Kripalu was clean. I mean, it was well organized and it was put together, and people were working no matter what they were working on. Ultimately, they were working on themselves. And a true manager, when stuff would come up for the people, a true manager was someone who processed them and their personal growth. Because the work, the action, that's nothing. But the stuff where work gets messed up is here. The resistance is where it works. So we got so much work done because we were clear, about what was going on. And again, so I know from my own skills that I'm very good at getting people to do, like I ran, when I went back the second time and ran the school of yoga, my whole staff was all volunteer. I mean, all the people who staffed the yoga teacher trainings, I mean, they were all volunteer because they came and they were getting rewarded at such a deep level for their personal growth. Things that you couldn't pay for. So they were paying to come to the programs and to be an assistant. That's a good thing. Then you throw in money and you really got paid. All right, gang. Thank you so much. Anybody have anything to say about, yeah, Frank?
This non-judgmental, compassionate self-observation, at first from the Miracles course, I was thinking this was really great, applying it outside. But it sounds like there's more of doing it for your inner self. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. Well,
which
this
is more important?
well, it's great because it's going along with this more important,
Yes.
or less important. Certainly, it's pretty clear that how we judge ourselves is how we judge others. So how we judge others is a mirror for how we're judging ourselves. And they just go together. Certainly when we begin to forgive ourselves and get to know ourselves, we begin to forgive and get to know others. So it's related. That's again where Swami Kripalu said the keys to your own heart lie in the heart of another. They lie in your ability to give and serve because you're really giving and serving to yourself. And again, our path was a path of love, service, surrender. And those are tools for your personal transformation. Throw yourself into love, service, and surrender to get rid of your own ego. It's like, okay. All right, so close your eyes for a moment. With your eyes closed, just scan your physical body for a moment and feel your body sitting right where it is. And then add a sweet, easy, gentle breath flowing in and out. Life force. Your breath is your companion your whole life. From the day you were born, you breathed in. From the day you die, when you breathe out, your breath is always with you. Your sweet breath at night, when you go to sleep, it runs in the back like waves in the ocean, flowing in and out. Sweet, gentle breath. And move your awareness to your heart center. And allow yourself to say, I vow to treat myself. And then finish the sentence. I vow to treat myself. I vow to treat myself. I am a multi-dimensional being, an infinite, eternal, whole, light being, having a temporal, physical experience. And all is well. And draw your palms together in front of your heart. I'd like to end by saying Jai Bhagwan. Jai is victory, and Bhagwan is to your infinite, indestructible self. Jai Bhagwan. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I do have cards here. I'm really love